This is Breaking Down Security, and I am Brian Brake. Welcome back, listener. This is Brian and Mr. Betcher for Breaking Down Security.
Hello, Mr. Brake.
Hello, Mr. Betcher. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Yeah?
Doing good.
Excellent.
Trying to shake this headache, but...
Everybody's got a headache. I picked my daughter up at day camp today, and she had a headache this morning. She had a headache this afternoon. I'm thinking it's sinus issues because, you know, everybody has them and the weather's starting to change and stuff. I mean, you're in Austin, so it's probably allergies, I'd imagine. My wife had horrendous allergies when we were there. But
yeah, if you don't know, Austin is like allergy capital, right? So if you come down here, it's not so bad, but if you stay like for maybe a year and a half, 2 years, then you'll get allergies for the first time in your life. And you'll be like, what? And you can see like when in the hill country, when the when a front comes in and it's that time of year where the cedar pollen is in full bloom, there's like clouds of cedar pollen, you know, just rushing through the air.
Yep. The cloud, the air turns yellow because it's just full of cedar pollen. Your cars get completely covered with it. Actually, a lot of people are going to be heading to Austin. The Sands, was it Sands Defear or something is going on next week?
Yes, in the future they will, but since you'll be releasing this podcast next week, it'll already be past.
No, I'm going to put this one out on the 26th, so you'll be right in the thick of it.
It starts tomorrow.
Oh, really? Okay.
The 23rd.
Oh, nice. But it'll be over
23rd and 20. Yes. It'll be over Friday evening.
Well, did you have fun?
Bummer, huh?
Did you have fun?
Yeah, I had a blast.
Right.
I learned a lot, and I met some great people.
You probably got your shiny coin you're going to show me next time you. I jinxed you, didn't I? I'm sorry. I jinxed.
Yeah.
I apologize. Well, you can.
You owe me. You owe me now a coin.
I'm sorry. Well, you can vicariously through me. I still have my 542 coin, so.
Yeah, I bet you do.
I do. I polish it every night.
You kiss it every morning.
Well, I do. I can't lie. I just happen to be on the right team. That's all. So, yeah. So, I hope you had a good time at that. And
yeah, it's all a team effort, right?
Yep. And you're doing the Net Wars thing. That's right?
No.
No.
It is there, but no, I'm not doing the Net Wars.
Right on. Okay.
Can't do too much.
Yeah.
Right. It's just
That's true. Before we get started, I wanted to mention some feedback we got just today, which is today being the 22nd of June on Twitter. Some of the people really enjoyed our DNS sinkholing podcast. One gentleman who I've met, actually, he came up for our CSEC East 1 month. He said that he had listened to our DNS sinkholing podcast and had never heard of it, and then 2 days later he had to deal with it at work. So he appreciated us because it didn't make him feel like a complete noob when he heard about it. So I felt that was probably the best feedback I've ever received from somebody about our podcast episode, because it was nice that we were able to teach something, and then all of a sudden he's having to use it at work, and he wasn't totally out in left field on it. So we have other people who are, giving us feedback. One guy, Mr. Podfish, said he learned more from the three podcasts he mentioned were Defensive Security, PVC Sec. He actually had three of them. So PVC Sec, Defensive Security, ours, and Risky Business. He learned more from these than three of them from grad school. So I thought that was very positive as well. So thank you, Stephen, for that. So, Mr. Betcher, what are we going to be talking about this week?
Ooh, we're going to be doing the Windows Registry, all about the registry. Well, Probably not all about it, but hey, there's few people that know all about it.
Yeah.
And we're going to do our best to tackle the registry. A lot of people in the industry are kind of like, it tells me not to mess with it because I could like hose my computer and then I'd have to rebuild it if I screw up the registry. So I don't want to touch it. It's kind of
it's immutable.
Immutable.
It's
very good. Yeah. It's like an immutable bit flag, right?
Yeah.
You just But we're gonna we're going to alleviate some of your concerns
Mm-hmm.
and get your hands dirty in the registry this
Right
week.
on.
So there we
So
go.
the only way thing I know about the registry is those little thumb drives you get off the TV that will help you clean up your registry and speed your computer up. So
Ah,
those are really
yes.
helpful. Yeah.
They are. They speed your computer up by cleaning that sucker.
Yeah, and they install all kinds of cool software that I can use to make my computer faster.
Yeah.
So yeah. So
And
go ahead.
and accessible from the internet by people who are trying to help you.
Exactly. Yeah, I even get special tech support from them. Yeah. So, like normally what we do is we like to talk about a little bit of the history of the registry. The history, it started out back in as actually Windows 95 had registry, which takes back almost 15, 16 years back to I even think Windows 3.1 had some
There's
form.
references to 16-bit Windows having registry items, and for backwards compatibility, there's some keys in there that, yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely got to be Windows 3.1 then, because I want to say that's been back a while. So, let me see. Where's my history lesson here? So,
This
um,
is real life.
that's real life. Why are we talking about the registry? What interested you into wanting to do the history of the registry?
Well, it was fresh on my mind. I'd just been finishing up some registry code in LogMD.
Mm-hmm.
So it was difficult because there's a lot of things that are not documented or easily discernible in the registry. So it took a while. It was really tough trying to get LogMD to work properly using the registry and getting all the little tidbits out of it that I needed to. So yeah, once I was done with that, and I still may tweak it some more. There's a few things in it that I want to improve on, but yeah, I thought it'd be a good a good thing to have a podcast on it just to while it was fresh in my mind, and hopefully get it documented, in audio.
Sure.
Here we go. Here's the registry. Here's what I learned about it, and here's what security people should know about it. I mean, there's ways to hide data in there. Well, it is a database, right? So hackers can use the database in every Windows system, which is the registry, to hide stuff from, they log keys, they do whatever, and it's not on disk per se. It is on disk, but not in the traditional, regular file
Mm-hmm.
sense. It's a good place to hide and a good place to persist as well, as we'll talk about.
Yeah. So some of the history, it did start with Windows 3.1.1, which is Windows for Workgroups, which was the update to Windows 3.1, where it gave you networking, TCP stack, that kind of thing. The only registry file they had at the time was called reg.dat, and it was stored in the %windir% directory, which in this case, I think is probably C:/Windows. In the Windows 9X versions, 95, 98, and presumably ME, because that was built upon 98 as well. They had a user.dat and a system.dat and a classes.dat file in Windows ME. So there you go. Each user had its own user.dat file, so each one of these contained program information. Before the registry, they used INI files. A lot of programs still use INI and config files. But if you want, I guess, more integration with Windows, you can stuff all your INI settings inside of the registry. I know I use WinSCP on my Windows VMs, and it gives you the choice of whether you want to shove everything into the Windows registry or use an INI file. And some programs will actually look for an INI file first and then go look in the registry, or vice versa, depending on how you want to go. Now, I guess starting with Windows NT, they had, what we see now as the traditional registry entries. You got the SAM, which is the H key local machine, the SAM security software system, and the defaults. And, those are pretty much where everything ends up being, depending on what you're wanting to store and where, like software settings in the software, and the SAM databases, user tables, and that kind of thing. What I didn't know is actually that each one of these headings, H key, local machine, SAM, security default system, they all correspond to a file on the system. I thought it was like one big, like a database of sorts, but it's actually just a file.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you get right down to it, a database, even big databases, right? Enterprise, they have to store their data somewhere. Mm-hmm. Right. So, yeah, it divides it into several files. These are binary files that it stores on. And of course, it has to maintain itself on the hard drive. So yeah, they're regular files located in System 32.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, System 32 config, and then you've got default SAM, security, software, and system. I thought it was more like a database, like a SQLite type database where you can query it or something.
It kind of is.
Okay.
Actually, if you think about it, you can use a tool called Registry and just in the command line, just query a certain key, right? Mm-hmm. It's basically built to store program and user configurations. I mean, that's basically what it's for.
Yeah,
and right? So if I build a Windows application, I can store configuration data there. And it maintains its persistence there. You can store, I think a lot of programs store key data there, like encrypted key stuff. Like if you buy a license for a particular piece of software, mm-hmm. It stores that license information in the registry.
Okay.
So if you somehow screw up and you have to reinstall, you're like, oh, wow, cool. I don't have to re-enter my license. It already knows about me. Well, that's because it's already in the registry.
Yeah. And also, if you go into things like HKey or HKey local machine, it will also store information about your computer, the bus, system memory, any device drivers, and something that I think is the reason why you were getting involved with this. It does startup control parameters. Is that also the run settings for the Runkeys? Is that where the Runkeys are located that you were mentioning to me earlier?
Well, it's not where they're located, but that's just there are certain places where you put something and Windows will read that key and say, okay, I gotta start this or load this module, whatever mm-hmm. it is, at startup or whatever particular time. So that's what blue team that's what security people call run keys.
Okay.
And you got to know where these run keys are, and if you're looking for persistence, right?
Yeah.
It would suck if you're looking through a machine and saying, yeah, I can't find anything. This machine's clean, but you missed a run key. Right? And there's where the thing is, and that's what tells it to run. Or it tells it to do something with this other key, which contains all the data for what you're going to run.
Okay.
We've seen that before. So,
and the registry can get fairly weighty, right? I mean, you were telling me earlier that you upgraded from Windows 8 to Windows 10, and now you've got about 750,000 registry keys?
Yeah, I just ran LogMD on my registry on this laptop I have doing the recording, and there's 688,913 keys. Okay, so let's talk about keys. What are keys?
Okay.
Right? Yeah. So the registry, if you look at it in regedit, right? If you just open regedit in Windows, you'll see the hives that it gives you, and those are keys. And the keys can have subkeys, and those subkeys can have other subkeys, right? And it just keeps going like a big tree, mm-hmm. right? Like a the data structure, a tree diagram or whatever. And each key could have values in it, which are pieces of data of different types. You can have strings and numbers and things like that. So that's what the registry consists of. There's keys and there's values, and each value can have a type.
Okay.
Right? So that's what that is. And my registry has 688,913 keys. And of course, however many values are under those keys, I don't know yet.
Well, how many did you gain by just upgrading to Windows 10?
Probably 280,000. I suspect there were less than 500,000.
Wow. So you think it's duplicates from if you wanted to go back to Windows 8, or these are actually brand new keys?
I don't know. I wish I would have run a diff on it.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the things that I implemented in LogMD was to do a diff between, like, if you have a lab box, you want to take a baseline, then you infect the system, and then you take another snapshot of the registry and find out what's different.
Okay.
So you can look at those run keys and see if anything was added. It'll show you. So I'm not sure. It obviously added a crap ton of keys. Now maybe those were just, hey, I want to keep these in case you downgrade back, right? Yeah. And I'm going to add my own. I don't want to write on top of what's already there. That's probably a lot of it. Someone told me once that the registry is like a garbage truck that keeps collecting garbage but never goes to the landfill.
Yeah.
Right? So, and in a sense, I mean, your hard drive is really big. The registry isn't that big. If you look at the size of these files in System32, it's not really that big. It's, 5 meg, 50 meg, whatever it is. I dump the registry into a text file so that you can view it in whatever text editor you want. And I know Notepad++ has a limit of like 50 meg, and I can open it up in that.
Okay.
So the entire registry dumped into a text file, every single character in it that can be represented in a text file. I even print out the binary keys. And I do each key in one line, so you can easily grep for things if you wanted to. But it takes up less than 50 meg, so it's a small file, relatively speaking, that you can easily go and look at with a text editor and see what's going on.
So they're all it's a binary formatted file, so the it's normally shrunk. So turning it into a text readable thing is what makes it so large. In this case,
yeah, in essence, it's roughly 50 meg, and I can go look and see what my latest size was on this machine. In fact, if you want to talk a while, I will go look.
Sure.
But
no, go ahead and look that up. I'm going to talk about some of the key values because you mentioned there are keywords in the
there are
registry
keys, and then there are value types,
and there's different categories. Yeah. So
speak to the types.
One of them, there's one called binary value, and these are raw binary values. A lot of times what you see in a registry is they'll tell you, this is a hidden value. You go into HKey local machine, software, Microsoft, down in, and then you change this value from a 0 to a 1. And basically what you're doing is you're changing the value of the binary value, reg_binary, to instead of 0x 0 to all zeros and a 1 at the very end, and that's basically true false. So are you doing X? Yes, that would be a true. Or do you not want to do this? Turn it off. You set it to 0 or false.
What'd you say? Reg binary?
Yeah, reg_binary. Look it down there on our second page.
No. Reg binary is just binary data in a stream.
No, it's raw binary data. Most hardware component information is stored in binary data and displayed in the registry register in a hexadecimal format.
Yes. So you're right. It is zeros and ones, but it doesn't have to be a 1 or a 0. It can be like 50 megs of ones and zeros.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a string of binary data.
Well, apparently I suck at reading comprehension tonight. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So if you look at when I print it out for you in a text file, and each key is in one line, some of these you can see on gigantic, like you just scroll and scroll and scroll to the right, and you see the binary. I print it out in hex for you.
Okay.
Right. So it can be a large binary stream of consciousness. Right.
Okay. And that is where you would hide information or run keys. They're just really, really huge.
Yeah. So go open up Registry Editor,
I'm
right?
sorry. We only have Macs in this house now. So actually, I have it on my
What?
Surface, but it's the recording. It's the recording rig, and I don't want to mess it up. Okay, so I'm wrong. There are multiple binary values in there. There's one called reg_resource list, and that's a series of nested arrays designed to store a resource list used by a hardware device driver. This data is detected in the resource map tree by the system and displayed in hexadecimal format as a binary value. There's a lot of the binary values have to do with device drivers, list of possible hardware resources, series of nested arrays designed to store a resource list, used by physical hardware devices. So, you can,
Oh yeah.
yeah. Let me see, reg none, data without any particular type. So you can just have like comments and metadata in there. This data
Yeah,
is written
it's
to,
not associated with any particular type, so you can just dump whatever you want to, or a program can just dump whatever they want to. It's just raw memory allocation. In a sense, it is binary,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Everything's binary when you get right down to it, but yeah, it has no type value at all.
Well, that must be particularly helpful for malware and stuff if you can just dump a bunch of information into the registry that doesn't have any data format.
Right. And in fact, some malware will dump it out as a string,
Uh-huh.
but it's not string value. It's not ASCII. It's not, you know, what's the new 16-bit
Unicode.
whatever Unicode? No,
Okay.
it's none of that. It's binary data, but they try to make it look like it's supposed to be a string value, but it's just binary.
Is that to throw people off? It's like
I guess because they
misdirection.
can, they're like, ugh, I'll just make it a different type and fool everybody. But yeah, if it says reg sz, which is a string value,
Mm-hmm.
I'll print it out as a string value, even though it'll look really weird.
Yeah. And so depending on your string values, you can have a fixed length string in the registry. You can have multiple strings in
Yeah, it's
in a heading, or you can have a variable length string. So it can move anywhere between 8 to 128 characters in a string.
or more. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you get overflows from that then? I mean, could you, if you tried to put a larger string value in a fixed string?
We'll see in C, which is what Windows is based on.
Mm-hmm.
String, this is the rule, string needs to terminate in a null. So you don't know the size of the string, but as long as it terminates in a null, that's the default. However, Windows said, yeah, we're not going to go with that. We're going to force you put a size. So
Yeah.
there is a value um, for every value in the registry. There is a size. All right,
Okay.
and you query for that size when you're getting the registry value. So they don't have to terminate strings with nulls. They just put the size, and there it is. So a lot of malware, what they'll do in particular is either not terminate in a null to try and get your software to screw up.
Mm-hmm.
And I dealt with that. And then they'll start their string with a null. Right?
Okay.
They'll give the size because they have to. Maybe it's the size of 200 bytes, but they'll start it with a null, and they'll know that, so they'll get rid of the null when they're processing their own data.
Yeah.
Well, you try to print it out and it's empty, and you're like, what is going on here? But you got to be aware there could be nulls in there anywhere in that string that regularly it would terminate there, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
Where it's not supposed to, according to the hackers, right?
Yeah. So there's other places where items can hide. I mean, and it's not just in a run key. There's other places that you can stuff information that could be ran later, right?
Yes, you can. Well, you can create a key and stuff data in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the registry is for. It's just to stuff data in. It's a database, right? It's built in to Windows. So yeah, if and I've seen malware hide JavaScript in a registry key. So they'll actually call the JavaScript embedded in a registry key, right?
Yeah. And you can make keys. There's different kinds of keys. They're like persistent keys, and then there's temporary keys, right? That are put in the registry on startup and then removed on shutdown. Is that
Yeah.
am I understanding that
There's
correctly?
particular run keys where like one is called run once, right? So if you put
Ah,
anything in the
okay.
run once key,
Yeah.
um, it'll get run at startup, and then Windows will delete it,
Okay.
right? And then there's the run key right next to it, which will maintain there. Windows won't delete that. So
Yeah.
if you want to run something one time, put it there in the run once key. So, yep, there's quite a few run keys in the registry, and you're thinking, yeah, there's probably 6 or 8, right?
Yeah. Well,
No,
how many are
that'd
there?
be wrong. Well, there's about 40 run keys actually.
Is that on a normal system, or is that on a system where you've got a bunch of junk installed? I mean,
That's on a normal system.
huh?
Yeah, let me go to my list here. Let's
Yeah.
see. Yeah, so you've got where you'll stick a DLL for Windows to run, and that's
Hmm.
in Microsoft Windows NT current version Windows, and in there you stick a DLL.
Yeah.
There's boot execute, right? There's win logon notifies, right? There's run and run once, what we talked about, shell folders, command keys, all kinds of run keys in there.
Yeah.
So what I'm looking to do is Michael Goff did a lot of research on this, found these run keys, and I'm going to try to make sure that this is captured in LogMD and make sure that we don't miss any of them. Right?
That's cool. So you're an admin on your box, right? So that gives you full access to your registry.
Not necessarily.
No. Okay. Well, see, I'm looking at the security levels here. It's more complicated than even Linux with regard to permissions. The security in the registry, there's like 10 or 11 different methods or permissions that you can allow people to have. Like you can give somebody the right to query a registry key value, or to set a value, or to create even a sub key in the registry,
Yep.
or to enumerate sub keys. So, I mean, you can even, the right to delete a key, or one called create a link. That apparently is reserved by the operating system. I assume that's creating links between registry keys, which would be a big problem. But
Actually, admin privileges can create links. We can talk about links in depth if you'd like. That gave me some trouble.
What was that?
Actually,
yeah, let's talk about that, because I'm thinking sim links or shortcuts, but
well, it is a sim link, right? But it's to another key in the registry. So if you look at the different hives, and let's look at some of the hives here.
and hives are the ones we talked about. SAM security, software system default. Those are hives, right?
No, those are different keys in the registry, but those are also some of the file names that make up the registry.
Okay.
So the different hives, if you open regedit, it'll give you a list of, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hives. HKey classes root, HKey current user, HKey local machine, HKey users, and HKey current config. So like, for example, HKey users contains all the users on the machine's settings, configuration settings, and the default user settings. So when you create a new user, it just copies the default.
Right.
And HKey current user is whoever's logged in right now. So that's really a link to whatever user is logged in at the time. And whoever's viewing the registry editor at the time.
Right? Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. So it's you. You're the current user.
Yeah.
When you log in, and it's actually pointing to a copy of whatever user you are in HKey users.
Okay.
So don't be confused there. There are links, and if you find a circular link, that's an infinite loop right there.
Ah.
Right? So you can just click on the same link, and it's a link to another one, and that opens down further the same key you were on, but you don't notice, and you can keep opening that key forever.
Yeah. So that sets what? Like it says user configuration. So that must be like how you're setting your background and, what your, how you set up
Yep.
your folder settings in Explorer and that kind of stuff. And the interesting thing is that follows you, because if you use like the Microsoft account as your login across multiple boxes, like I have a laptop in my my office here, the Surface and whatever, I log in with the @live.com account, and it will synchronize my settings across everything. So there must be a massive registry or a massive Active Directory server somewhere in Redmond that is keeping all of my HKey user profile information and then downloading it to the new device when I log in.
I suppose so. I mean, that's the only way it can work.
Yeah.
Right?
Scary stuff.
Yeah. So you can have links between hives. You can have links within a hive. And I ran into that problem. I'm sitting there going through it methodically, recursively, right? And it hits one of those, and it calls one that I've already called, and it just loops. And all of a sudden, my program is sitting there, and I either get a Stack Overflow or it just runs forever, right?
That's interesting. Why? I wonder why there's not some kind of registry check that would keep from having that kind of cyclical issue.
There isn't any check like that. In fact, I can create links in the registry. I wrote a little program to test it, but you can create links in the registry to, link to its parent. So you just keep opening the same key over and over and over and over and over.
Oh, yeah. Right? Yeah.
So, yeah. So in LogMD, the next version, it hasn't been released yet, but I detail all the links.
Oh, that's cool.
So it doesn't make a copy or print out the same thing more than once.
All right.
Right. Except for the main hives.
Yeah. And any changes you make to the hive are what's called atomic in nature. So for those of you who don't understand what atomicity is, I think I probably just ruined that. It's an all or nothing thing. So in the case of an issue with the drive, all of the data is written at the exact same time, or none of the data gets written, which is interesting because that must mean they must do some kind of fancy caching or something before and everything's in a burst. So everything happens at one time so that you don't have any issues.
Yeah, there's like a commit in there. It'll make the changes, but not commit until the very end. All the changes are made, and then it'll say, okay, make it happen. Boom.
Yeah. Make it happen. Yeah.
Or roll back, right?
Yep.
Database 101.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah,
exactly.
And think about to the garbage truck analogy. You can go in and create keys just to screw around. Right?
Yeah.
You can copy keys, save keys, save entire hives. You get that .reg file, right? It's just a text file.
Yeah, you can delete entire hives. Of course, that would be very, very detrimental to your system. There are backups. You can normal NT backups, or most normal system images will take a backup of the registry. But yeah, you can mangle it pretty well. So, what was some of the other things? So you can make API calls to the registry now. Where I don't know, maybe you've always been able to, but apparently PowerShell, the new versions of PowerShell have registry interaction where you can get child items, or you can set locations and change current locations of keys in the registry. And there's various API functions that you can use to manipulate the registry thusly.
Yeah, I mean, the API calls have probably been there since the registry was created. They're a little bit different now than in the days of NT, but yeah, they have the API calls, and PowerShell has implemented their own calls that in fact call those APIs, right?
Yeah, and the registry, it's just a key value pair, like a. When you're
not pair, but yeah, key with, you can have as many values as you want under the pair, under the key.
Yeah. So, okay, so that's different than like a JSON thing where you have one value, or one key, one value. So you can have one key, multiple values.
Yes, it's different than like a map.
Yeah.
where you have a key value pair. It's a key and then as many values as you want and as many types of values as you want, right?
Yeah.
So you can have 3 D words, which are just like 32-bit or 64-bit numbers.
Yep.
And then a bunch of strings and then multi-strings and binaries. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And then you have Q words, which are, of course, the 64-bit. The D words are 32-bit. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you have a link, that's the only thing you can have, though. Right.
What's that? A link?
Yeah. A key. If a key is a link,
Uh-huh.
then you can't have any values under that key.
Oh, I see. So yeah, well, obviously, because it's just pointing to one where there actually is a value, and you don't want anything under there.
I could be wrong on that, though. I haven't tried to create a value under a link, so maybe I'll try that.
Okay.
It's possible. I just never thought of it, right? But yeah, there is a value under the key that you set that gives you the link to wherever it needs to be linked to.
Very nice.
Right? And it's got to be named specifically a certain string, and then it's designated as a link.
Okay. So.
Yep. So important thing is, don't be scared of the registry, right? It's just data. As long as you don't go deleting crap out of it, feel free to walk in there and look through it. You've got all kinds of stuff.
To be fair, you should probably make a backup before you go poking around in it, or at least run your Windows in a VM so that you can run a snapshot before you go playing around in the registry. Because if you do bork it up, really the only way you're going to be able to fix it is to go in safe mode and maybe figure out what you changed. But you definitely want to make a backup of your registry before you go in and start playing around with it.
Yeah.
That's
good advice.
Well, it's always good advice. And you said there's no registry cleaners. I was making a joke earlier about the little thumb drive thing where you can get it online, and I actually used one back when I was before I embraced the InfoSec. It would pull out like old programs that I'd uninstalled or something where it left cruft inside, with the idea that I guess it was going to help your performance, but I don't know if it actually did that or if it just infected me with something. So
right, yeah, you're not going to improve performance by cleaning out your registry. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah,
you can query. Those of you who have studied data structures, it's going to be just as fast to query something if your registry is twice as large.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep.
Only one instruction, and how fast is a processor?
Oh, very fast. Yeah.
One instruction longer if the size of your registry's doubled, roughly.
Yeah.
Okay, so binary search. It's not going to have any effect on the speed of your system.
Yep.
When you use a registry cleaner.
So here's something interesting. When Windows 95 came out, this is on the Wikipedia page, so you can read this. They said that the registry was a single point of failure because reinstallation of the operating system was required if registry became corrupt. Of course, they're saying citation was needed on that, but now they're saying that as of Windows NT, there were 2 different levels of log files that ensured integrity in the case of power failure or catastrophic events during the database updates or atomicity. Even in the case of unrecoverable error, Windows can repair or reinitialize registry entries during system boot. So it sounds like it's self-healing in some cases where it'll be like, oh, that doesn't make any sense. I need to fix this to something that at least makes, sound sane. And then, it'll give you an error upon startup where it's like, one or more system processes didn't start, or, there's been an error in the registry.
Yeah.
So that's nice.
That's pretty cool.
Yep.
Yeah, like the HKey classes root, it merges the default settings with the interactive user settings in HKey current user. So it kind of merges those two. And if something isn't right, it kind of self-heals at that point.
So can you, as the administrator on the box, user 500, can you see every person who has a login on that box's HKey local user? Or yes. HKey user local?
HKey users.
Yeah, HKey users.
Right. And it names them by some weird GUID.
Well, yeah,
But yes.
it's the SID dash whatever
Hmm.
so it's their user ID with that big long 0 dash whatever. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you can.
So you've got to know what that is to be able to break down who is who. But usually, if it's 500, that's the admin account. With a 500 at the end. I you know, that's about all I know about the Windows registry. I'm asking somewhat. I'm asking questions like I know what I'm talking about, but I don't deal with the registry. I'm like the people that you had talked about, where it was like, don't play with the
So
registry.
you had some trouble because you didn't know about the registry, right?
Oh,
Can you tell us about that?
yeah. Okay. So August of last year, was that when Black Hat and DEF CON was going on?
Probably.
Yeah, Black Hat and DEF CON. So anyway, Leviathan Security had this cool thing where they were doing a CTF where it wasn't a CTF in the legit sense, but it was like you had these 4 or 5 different sections where you could go and do these challenges, if you will. And one of them was a registry challenge. So I'm looking at this. They sent out a .reg file, or it was a Hive or something, and I could not, for the life of me, figure out how to open this file and do anything with it. And all the programs that I had tried and all the ones that people had told me about didn't open this Hive file, or couldn't open this Hive file. And everyone was like, "Oh yeah, just incorporate it into Windows." And I'm like, "Well, wouldn't that clobber my existing Windows installation?" And I didn't want to do that because it was my only box I had at the time. Since then, actually, I was talking on Twitter with David Longnecker. He is, oh man. Anyway, he created a program called Reglister where he actually can open those files offline. So if you are a person doing forensics, you don't necessarily have to be on the box, because I understand to do registry forensics, you kind of have to be sitting on the box to be able to poke around inside the registry. But now he's able to export the entire registry, and you can do offline analysis of the program. So yeah, at DL Longen, Longen. He's a fine young Texas boy who's into information security, but he created Reglister. There'll be a link in the show notes for that. It quite interesting to talk to him. I actually like to thank Sek Shoggoth, Tyler Hudak, who sent me some examples, and some people on Twitter who mentioned Volatility has some registry exercises to do some registry hacking that way. Apparently, one of the flag was to be able to find the naughty bits inside the registry, and I couldn't even figure that out because I couldn't even open the damn thing, because at the time I was not good at doing the registry stuff. So I didn't finish that challenge, but I still did fairly decently on that CTF. So that was really nice. So I was going to work on it this weekend, but it being Father's Day, I didn't get around to playing around with any of the registry stuff yet. So definitely go over securityforrealpeople.com. All one word. That's David's blog, and he was talking about Reglister on there. So if you only use Linux, it's good because you can it's Python based, so it's cross-platform, and all you need to do is download the registry, and you can analyze it offline and on a Linux box instead of having to be on the Windows box.
Yeah, I know David. He's a great guy.
Yeah, he's good people. Don't tell him I said that. David Longnecker is his name. Yeah. So, so was there anything else you wanted to talk about with the registry?
Well, if you look in regedit, you can right click on a key and hit modify. Right, and look at it there, or modify binary data and see it in binary, how that thing looks. I've actually copied some of the Kovtar payload into my registry.
What's Kovtar?
Kovtar is a piece of malware.
Oh, okay.
So it hides a payload in the registry. and then it uses the run key to run some script to decode or decrypt, whatever it is, the registry key of that data and start the malware on boot up.
Okay. All right. So is this stuff you're playing with on the side, or is this stuff you're finding at your place of business, or is it a combination of both?
Combination of both. Yeah.
Wow.
We see Covetar every once in a while come through. We analyze it or we find somebody in the organization that might have it or might have gotten it. And yeah, you can just verify that they've got Covetar by opening a run key. And if you get a big error pop up that says, hey, I can't do anything with this in regedit, then you know it's Covetar because they have that particular signature. You can look for that null byte in the run key by doing, say, a query in your query mechanism, like BigFix, or I don't know if you use Mirror, or I think Facebook has one. Mozilla's got theirs, where you just query things on the systems. You can look for that particular null byte in the run key.
Okay. All right.
Those things. And, yeah.
Well, you've done it now. You've mentioned Covetar, so now it's going to disappear.
Yeah, well, I hope so.
Because, we mentioned Angler exploit kit the last couple of weeks, and now all of a sudden it's disappeared. So, according to...
It's disappeared?
Yeah, according to media, it's no longer around. It's not doing anything. So,
well, I thought they just announced that it's got an Emmet bypass.
No, well, the Emmet thing was like for 5 minutes, and all of a sudden it's just disappeared. It and another one. I saw the...
So maybe law enforcement sinkholed the CNC servers.
I thought it would be cooler to say that, they all gave up and went home when we started talking about
it.
Yeah, that's probably cool.
That's probably more likely.
I hope so. Well, us and Earl, they're like,
they're on to us.
Yeah, they're on to us. Yeah.
We've got to create a new malware called, or exploit kit called Bangler or something.
Yeah. So, it doesn't match Angler. Yeah. So, this week you're enjoying, DFear. You had a good time at DFear. In case somebody saw you at DFear and they wanted to talk to you again, how would they go about doing so on social media?
On Twitter. They should have come up and talked to me. Or maybe they didn't recognize me. I don't know. But yeah, I'm on Twitter at BetcherPwned.
Right on. You can find me online at Brian Brake, BryanBrake. I spell my name. I spell Brian properly. And of course, the BrakeSec podcast's official Twitter is at BrakeSec, BRAKESEC. We're still doing the DerbyCon CTF. We've got 8 of our 11 participants. Our contestants are on stage 4, and that's going to go out. Like the final thing is going to go out on July 1st. So it'll be a race to the finish at that point for a free ticket to DerbyCon. If, we have another ticket that we're going to be raffling off, and, the way you get that is you have to support us on Patreon at the $20 level. Or you've already supported us before May 1st or whatever, which is where we set the date, and that will get you an entry into the drawing. Just supporting us at the $20 level or already being a longtime member will get you an entry. Otherwise, every $50 you give to Hackers for Charity will get you an entry into the drawing as well. You just have to send us a receipt that you can blank out as much information as you need. But every $50 you give to Hackers for Charity, we will give you an additional entry in. So if you donate $150 to Hackers for Charity and $20 to us, you'll have 4 entries into the contest, and that'll get you a ticket too. So that's easily, I think, how much are those? How much are the tickets for DerbyCon? It was like 175, 100, something like that.
I don't know. It was so long ago.
Yeah, I think it was like $175, $200 or something. So, even if you only pay $100 for it, you're still getting a deal. So, take a look at that. If you want to do the CTF, there's still plenty of time to do that. Go back and see to our 2016-017 episode where we talked about salted hashes and networking, and you can get the instructions on how to get that. So going to have a guest host next week because Mr. Betcher is out next week. So the next podcast will have somebody other than Mr. Betcher on.
I can't wait.
Well, we actually, I think we had to.
Don't say any names.
Well, I'm not going to because I'm not going to jinx it. But we have 2 people because it took 2 people to replace you. You can rest easy knowing that it took 2 people to replace you to get to the certain level that we needed to. So, have a good week, Mr. Betcher. I'll see you back in a couple of weeks. And that was it for this week's Breaking Down Security. I hope everybody has a great week, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Bye-bye.